Can you guys hear me now? Great. All right, we're going to have a great discussion here. Very excited to talk to these amazing creators. When we were getting ready, I said to you guys I wanted to focus this conversation on some substantive questions. I want to get a little spicy. I don't think we need to go that deep into the exact processes. I want to go into more of the psychology of what you're building as artists and how we should be thinking about the relationship between you as artists and the technology itself. So I guess my first question, I'll start with you, Benjamin, is I want to know what your first computer was.
So my first computer was like a PC when I turned 11 years old. And the funny thing is like my parents are not like tech savvy at all. I honestly, to this day, like don't really understand why they decided to buy this PC at such a young age. But yeah, it was kind of like my first experience when I started to like work as a designer, move over Mac, and then more recently, I have to like move back to PC to being able to have like more control over my workflow. So yeah, it's been an interesting full cycle.
And Paige?
Also started out with a PC, a big box computer that was like the house computer that everybody shared. And we had dial-up internet back then. And so that, yeah, it's really wild to see how far it's come.
I think there's a lot of people who are very scared within the artist community about what AI is going to do to their work. So I'm wondering, as successful working artists within the space, we'll start with you, Paige, what is scaring you most?
I would say I typically find myself more excited, and I find that change and pivoting is very exciting. I've been pivoting for like 20 years. Every year it feels like technology evolves so rapidly that you have to be able to adapt to it. So I feel very excited by these kind of things, and the only thing that I feel like might intimidate me a bit is watching industries change so rapidly. For example, being an AR effect creator, Instagram recently just removed AR effects from their platform. And effects performed very well there, but they still removed it. So it's crazy just to see how things can radically change. But other platforms like Snapchat and TikTok have been evolving their AR platform. So some things might change for the worse and other things change for the better.
And Benjamin?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, it's, let's be real, like they should be scared, like every creative, you know, should be like concerned about like what's going on. But you can, you know, you cannot like really fight a tsunami when it's happening, right? It's either you find a way to like take advantage of it and reinvent yourself. On the optimist side of things, at least for me, what I really, you know, what I started doing with AI wasn't possible before. So it's like, I have a lot of idea and a concept that I couldn't materialize, especially when you work with a client-facing project. Like you just like have to focus on like what they want and what is feasible. And there is a lot of ideas amazing that stay on the side that never materialized. I think with AI now is like you have this capability to just like take this idea and like putting it into the world and seeing how it works. On the downside of it, I would, you know, say that like when the recent ChatGPT updates has been released, like for a minute, you know, I wasn't too comfortable. So like the first 2 nights didn't sleep very well because I was thinking, okay, we're moving rapidly in a place where you still need to have a little bit of like skills or a lot of skills and understanding to use this platform to like know my mom, she's 66 years old. I love her, but she sent me, you know, images generated with ChatGPT. So I was like, okay, we're cooked, it's over. But then after 48 hours, I feel like the world is like back to normal, right? And it's like, people can have fun with it, I think it's great. But as a creative, it's like, what do you do with the tool? Everyone is talking about made with AI or not. I think very soon, it will not matter anymore. The same way no one is like advertising, like I made this campaign with Photoshop or, you know, like whatever it is.
All right, so it sounds like what is scaring you most, Paige, was with you, is the idea that technology itself is the medium. And as you mentioned with Instagram, they, in essence, deplatformed your work by saying, we're no longer thinking about this, we want to focus somewhere else. And Benjamin, it feels like for you, it's the rapid set of change, but it also sounded like, if everyone can be an artist, what does it mean to be an artist, right?
Totally, yeah.
Okay, so as working artists in the field, we know what scares you, so what, Benjamin, to start with you, what turns you on most about AI?
I mean, again, just like the speed of like execution and creating content. And so tonight there is an opening of the new show at Mercer Lab. So like a shameless plug here, but I work on like half of the content for the main room. this is something that wouldn't have been possible even a couple of months ago. Like would have taken me an entire team and like months of like development. With the technology, in just like a couple of weeks, was able to like take on this project and creating a good content. And so yes, some people can see that as like, no, it's unfair because people have been learning like, 3D, CGI, all these different things. I mean, again, we can, cry about it a little bit. The truth is like, no, it's over and the world is not coming back as it was before. So if you were an amazing CGI artist, better start learning how to use AI because I believe you will be able to create like 10 times more content and don't have limitation anymore in terms of like budget or like time to put a project together.
And Paige, what's exciting you most about working in this space?
So I feel like there's two things that really excite me a lot about this space right now. And one is I love customized model training. I like personalizing AI as much as I possibly can. I've been doing a lot of training on my own works, creating a data set of my drawings, 3D models, filters, even portraits of myself to personalize an AI model that feels true to me. And so that for me has been very exciting because I really feel like it's a branch of my art and it has my fingerprint on it. People can tell it's my work because it looks like other works I've produced. And so I feel like that's extremely exciting and I'm starting to see a lot more of that personalization enter the space. And I noticed that the conversation shifts to a very excited place when it's personalized. When it's not personalized and it feels like it was just if it feels like it was just one prompt and done, people don't like it. But when it feels like it's yours and they could see your mark on it, I find that people are very receptive to it. So that and the ability to just be able to streamline our work so rapidly. I could be creating a movie, a music video, a fashion campaign all in the same week. And I can, it's just, you're unlimited now. It's like we have limitless potential.
But to push back on that a little bit, you're putting your fingerprints on all your work, as you are, Benjamin. And you're also giving, in essence, all of the data and the DNA of who you are to your clients. So I think about the idea that you can be reverse engineered by any of your clients to say, give me a Paige Piskin type experience, and maybe it's not exactly how you would do it, but you've now fed so much data into the machine. So when you work on your clients' work, how are you protecting yourself? Because the tools are democratized. So how do you protect your personal vision, your fingerprints, not only for your client, but also for your future in this world?
So the models that I create are private. Like they're either local on my own computer using tools like Comfy UI, Stable Diffusion, or I use a tool like Crea where I have private models as well. And so by doing that, I could protect my style. However, technically somebody could take my works that's available and create a data set off of it. But I think it's my own personal style and eye for the work that allows it to go the place I'd want it to go. If somebody could have access to my work and make a model, but they might not generate what I would want to generate with it. And so I think that's where it deviates. But I do feel like I have protection over it by owning those models and keeping them for myself.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, and I feel like you say with like the commoditization of like the tool and everything, and the lower barrier to entry, I think it became like even more important to like create like almost like your own IP around your work, even if it's like a commercial project for a client. I think it's like important to like have your own style and vibe and everything, because AI or not AI, people always have been able to like rip off other artists' work, right? And like you might not work with this specific photographer and you might try to work a cheaper photographer able to do it. That like the same idea with AI and totally agree with Paige on like the personalization. I think even tools like Midjourney, now, there is like almost like every user rank images to like create their own like style. And so it's very hard for someone to like generate exactly the same output as you do. They can try to reverse engineer the system, but this will always happen, AI or not. And so I'm more like optimistic that like the brands and the consumer will want to work with like artists that have a real style, vision, and storytelling.
So I mean, as an exercise, last night I asked ChatGPT to generate a work of each of yours. It wouldn't do it because of copyright issues, which is its own interesting challenge. But then I started with you, Paige. I uploaded one of your images in. It was able to identify it was you and then give me the prompt to get that image. When I asked it to do it, it said no. But then I asked Grok and I asked Midjourney, and both would do that. So I was trying to see how far I could push
Can
it.
we see the output on the screen
not
or no?
here.
I want to see.
Luckily with Grok and Midjourney, the output was not very good. But it did make me think again that we're teaching people to reverse engineer, to figure out all of our styles, no matter what it is. And it just makes, it is worrying me that we are only this far ahead and this far ahead of the machines that are always going to be better than us. And so is the creativity about what are you going to do next, or is the creativity about what you've done, and how is that influencing how you're thinking about your work in the future?
I mean, that's a good one, and I really like the spirit about the reverse engineering. I want to see what he did. But one thing that was interesting for my personal experience, so like I say, big fan of like Japanese culture and the samurai armor. But the reason I starting to work on this topic is because most of the model, they were only able to generate like samurai armor that looks like a, like an archive type of content, right? And so the challenge was like, okay, I want to generate like future forward samurai armor, different material and concept, and mixing all this idea together. And I think again, there is at some point all this trend on social media. So like for a minute, I was seeing a lot of people trying to replicate the work, and they were all super nice about it, like sending DM and stuff like that. But then this shit disappear, after 48 hours. And I'm still doing my samurai work, right? So I think there is like the two element, like you need to be like continue being working on your craft and your IP, and the second part is like trying to constantly reinvent yourself. I think is also like a good thing to do as an artist.
Yeah, and I know this is maybe like slightly different, but I do feel like I like to parallel this work with still creating from scratch. And I know it sounds kind of like wild at this conference to say it, but like at the same time, it's a perfect parallel for me to continue building my creative process by going back and building models from scratch, even building and sculpting with real clay and things like that. I feel like there's also a space opening up for art like that as well, that's right parallel in the same space. And even is now able to be taken to another level because I can first make a character in 3D and then I could actually use AI tools to animate that character. So I'm still doing part of the process myself. And so that allows me to still have that like complete hands-on approach and actually create something rather than just doing my prompts to create my characters with my model. I could also go back and say, so I'm going to skip that part and I'm actually going to just build it this time and then I'll use the AI tools to bring it to life.
All right, just to go one level deeper on this. This wouldn't be a futuristic conference if we didn't mention Minority Report. So I'm going to bring that in. There's a quote in Minority Report where the police character, who's Colin Farrell, says, "Science has stolen most of our miracles." And then he says, "In a way, miracles give us hope in the existence of the divine." And so I wonder, your opinions, is there a way where AI is robbing us of imagination because there's too much that's accessible, too much that's attainable?
I think I'm gonna need to ask ChatGPT to like explain this question. And, I mean, for me, AI is like really magic, like in a true sense, right? And again, we're not talking about just using ChatGPT and asking like, generate this stuff and that's done. It's like there is like a lot of like engineering that come into place, especially with tools like Config UI, more advanced workflow. So yeah, I think for me, just like still insane to like creating this node system, having a concept in mind and thinking that like it would have taken me so much resource to like bring this concept to life, and just like seeing the denoising step happening in front of me, and then there is like an amazing content generated. And so there is a control part that I think is underrated and extremely valuable. And there is also everything I call happy accidents with AI, that like sometimes people just want to use AI to like do what they have in mind. I always like to keep like a part of like unpredictability and just like really having like stuff generating that I haven't thought about it in the first place, and then just like iterate from this process. So I hope that's relevant to your question, but yeah.
Paige?
Yeah, and I feel that like I try to find a workflow where I bring in my traditional work into that AI process. Like for example, one of the recent projects I did, I drew a character first, sketched it out roughly, which is a challenge if you've been using prompting for a while because you expect it to go as fast as the prompt and you realize you have to slow down. And it actually makes your hands sore to get back into drawing after a while. So I got back into drawing and started drawing my characters and then feeding that into my model, blending it with another style, which was a model of my own self. So I was able to turn myself into my character and then start using that character in the content. So it was like a way to kind of bridge a little bit of the traditional art back into it. But I feel like it's really important to find that happy medium where you're still bringing your own work in. If you're creating a movie, you might want to come up with the concept yourself, or even take the script that the AI creates and write your own version. Like, actually leverage AI as a collaborator, not as an employee completely.
Right, but for both of you, again, you are each creating a world, right? You create an image, you use these tools as your hands and your assistants. You can then take that image, you could bring it into ChatGPT and say, help me with the lore. You could take all of that, feed it into Runway and say, help me with the video. You could take all of that, feed it into Opus and say, rank for virality. Then we go to Replit and we can build the game. All along the way, there used to be artists that were helping that process. Now it's you and a machine. How does it feel also as being part of the system that is putting your own sort of, the people in your sphere, giving them more reasons not to work with you, not to work within the system? Is this need people with your creative brains versus the skill set to do this in order to be successful?
I think so. I think that, like, I've tried to create projects completely myself, and it's exhausting. Like, creating all aspects of a piece with AI is actually kind of tiring, even though it might seem like you can use it to write your script, make a shot list, generate a prompt for each shot. But it feels like it's extremely overwhelming. And then the end result, sometimes I don't like it. I feel like it's bland. It's lukewarm. It doesn't have that power that a piece would have if I put more into it, or if I collaborated with specialists. And I feel like the future for me, if I could have my dream situation, it would be to collaborate on every piece with specialists that also leverage the power of AI to streamline their work and the ability for us to collaborate at scale. But I do see that if I was able to collaborate with more specialists like that, the content would probably be exponentially better than when I'm trying to do every aspect myself.
And Benjamin?
Yeah, I think that's a very polarizing topic, and but when you think about it, I don't think there is many creatives that like enjoy like the fact that you really spend like days and weeks or like wait hours to render like a single scene or texture, like this type of stuff. So yeah, it's a problem because like not everyone can be James Cameron, right? And there is like a whole industry under him or like other director and creative director. So I think this is definitely something that we need to pay attention with as like a community almost, and like seeing how this evolve. But on the other side, like I said at the beginning, I don't think there is anything you can do to fight against it. So it's like more like figuring out as a creative like how you can reinvent yourself. Even with AI, I still believe that there is a need for like specialization, like almost like, because there is like the type of work the type of work Paige is doing very different from mine. Both are like super valuable and interesting, and so I still believe that even if you use AI, like we probably don't do the same type of workflow. We don't have the same approach. So like I think singularity is still something very important.
All right, my final question for you. So I wanted to take a sort of deeper dive into how you guys showed up in the social world. So Benny, I found your first tweet from 2010, September, and you posted, this is my translation of your French, by the way. You said you posted 2 photos to Facebook in the press album. One of those photos was about a B Street collection, spring-summer of 2010, featuring hi-hat tees from the B Street magazine collection. Paige, your first Instagram post is a gray cat that just says, begging again, he just ate, and then just says cats. So
Sounds
what would
about right.
each of those people at that moment think of the work you are doing today?
Man, I mean, I think my past self would be so hyped to see that I still love cat content, and I share, and that I'm actually generating cat content now.
Benny?
I mean, seriously, it's amazing. Like, I've been on the few like panel like this, like best question ever, and I'm so glad that I wipe out my Instagram account, because I think my first Instagram post was like a random car in Venice Beach with one of these
I looked
awful
for it, I couldn't
filter.
find it.
Yeah, you couldn't find it. That's cool. And so about the tweet, so B Street was like a magazine that we used to publish in France. And we were curating about like street culture, graphic design, fashion, and all these different things. And back then, it was like really like almost like pre-blog social media type of situation. We wanted to build a platform when we can feature the artists that we love and inspired us as young creators. So I mean, this is crazy because I think the Benny from this era would have never thought that I would have piece exhibited in a museum and I will not just be a curator anymore, but like part of the conversation. So yeah, I think he can be proud. I hope he is. Thank you, man.
I hope they're both proud. Please give it up for Paige Piskin and Benny Benicio.
Thank you.